Next speaker needs no introduction. She is a widely respected social activist, educator, and animal welfare advocate who has dedicated her life to a meaningful service. As a co founder of Blue Cross Hyderabad, she has led impactful campaigns for animal rescue, rehabilitation, and cruelty prevention.
Beyond this, she champions environmental conservation, compassion based education, and community welfare. Through her leadership and advocacy, she continues to inspire youth to build a kinder, more conscious society. Please join us in welcoming Amala Akineni ma'am.
Very good morning to all the delegates and all the guests. My topic is, of course, to highlight corporate social responsibility, but not just as that, but as a collective responsibility to sustain life, both human and animal. And I'm sure you will all resonate with this. I know I am speaking to the choir. You would not be here if you were not already dedicated to service and deeply interested in improving our country and the situation of humanity. And therefore, I'm not here to preach to you, but just to share some deeply important things to me. I achieved fame and name at a young age, and then I decided I would channel that name and fame towards serving humanity. And I picked animal welfare to do that. It's been 33 years since we started Blue Cross of Hyderabad. But when I started it, within 1 year, I was overwhelmed with the suffering, because no matter what I did, one single person, it was impossible to make a difference. And the waves and waves of continuous suffering and demands just overwhelmed me. And at that time, I stepped back and I spent some time on introspection, reflection. I discovered meditation. I learned to find my inner peace and balance. But I also discovered the value and the strength of community. And I think today, this audience, all of you, represent community. There is an African saying that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And that is where community comes in. I have three areas to share with you, and maybe some solutions. You know, Mahatma Gandhi ji said, the greatness of a nation and its moral progress, the greatness of a nation and its moral progress reflects on the way it treats animals. We have come a long way since Gandhiji lived. And today we can extend that sentence to the way it treats women, the way it treats vulnerable communities, as well as the way it treats animals. I'm sure you will agree with me. So the first case of concern would be that 92 billion animals are reared for food and slaughtered every year, along with trillions of creatures from the water, that is sea, rivers, lakes. Trillions. They are mined from these waters and served as food. Now, this is not a judgment on any non-vegetarian here. I grew up as a non-vegetarian, and today I am a vegan by choice, but it is an environmental choice, a compassionate choice that I make. These animals are reared with massive deforestation. These animals are reared with deforestation because they need massive amounts of land to grow the food to feed them. And we know that climate change and the effects of climate change have devastated many, many communities and are a daily issue that we must face. And therefore, considering a plant-based diet is today becoming a conscious choice. Besides that, the zoonotic diseases that spread among these factory farms of animals farmed in very close proximity, in very large numbers, at minimal cost. The corporate approach to anything is make it cheap. And so when you rear animals at minimal cost, the health issue becomes a serious concern. And they are pumped with veterinary medicines as well as the zoonotic diseases that affect human beings and the veterinary pharmaceuticals that then are transmitted from the animal body to the human consumer. These are also very serious issues. The climate disasters due to clearing forests that grow food for these animals is also a serious issue. Considering this, in the days ahead, humanity will be faced with serious choices. Secondly, the urbanization of India, rapid urbanization. The space between villages and towns and cities is reducing. And rapid urbanization leads to large amounts of garbage that then has to go into landfills or is accessible to stray animals that then breed and multiply. And this comes the issue of the street dog. They have massive amounts of food and multiply accordingly. They say the number of dogs in an area are directly proportionate to the food and the space available. And this comes from rapid urbanization. And therefore, just killing them does not solve the problem because the garbage remains. And they breed 1:1, replacing their population within a year, because that is the prolific breeding capacity of the dog. Therefore, the sterilization and vaccination of street dogs and cats and street animals is a very fundamental part of civic duty and civic service. The third area are deep traditions. We have wonderful traditions, of course, but some of them include animals, like, for example, the puja of Nag Panchami. People go looking to feed milk to a snake, but a snake neither drinks milk nor wants that milk, and the milk poured down its snake hole actually becomes a reason for it to drown or to want to escape from its flooded house. Temple elephants kept in temples, because they cannot afford to feed them, they send them out to beg. And these elephants also, thousands of them across the country, suffer greatly, begging for food on a daily basis, on walking on these tar roads. Our traditions are very great, but we must consider what is the situation today. The world has changed so much. Is this necessary today? I would like to quote a Western contemporary philosopher, Peter Singer. He's read some very key books. He's written some key books. He says, can they reason? Can they talk? And can they suffer? If we have the capacity to prevent suffering, being neutral is then a choice. And we as humans are accountable for the choices we make. Therefore, my friends, being neutral is a choice and we are accountable for it. Therefore, we have to start making conscious choices. It may be right to say at this point that service to humanity, and all of you I know are providing service to humanity, this service must include sustainability, diversity, animal welfare, environmental protection, protection of the water, the forest, the air, the soil, and all of wildlife. As our world changes, and our world is changing so rapidly, yesterday I went for a screening of the film Shiva. I don't know, some of you may have seen it when you were in college or school. Many of you, it was made long before you were born. But it was a film that made waves. And I was watching the film yesterday with our students at Annapurna College of Film and Media. And what was so stark was the way women were treated. There was so much of violence against women, and Shiva, the character, rises up against all the atrocities. But that was the situation. I think Ram Gopal Varma, the director, he was a student of engineering in Warangal. And that was the situation there at that time. You see, films reflect society. But we have come such a long way from there. Today, the POSH Act, the SHE teams, women feel safer. You know, we have a voice, we have a place, we have so much to contribute. The world has changed so fast, and therefore our thoughts and our service must also change accordingly. Each of you are from the corporate sector. Your founders would have had such noble ideas, but somewhere along the way, the board or the investors only look at profit. And very truthfully, Gandhiji reminded us that this planet has enough for our needs, but not for our greeds. How much profit? That is a good question to ask. When you go out and you serve your community and you find your place to serve and you select a project to serve, don't use the same. My request is this. Don't use the same measure that you do to bargain with your vendors, to bargain with your community, or to bargain with the NGO that provides this service. And I'll tell you why. The NGO needs your help to come up to speed, to include technologies that will help them, to get training that will make them understand how to serve better. All that you have of value will help the NGO. But the NGO is full of people from the community. A dog catcher in an ABC, in an animal birth control program, has to live as well. And when you bargain down the cost, where will that boy or girl or man or woman, where will they stay? Is their house affordable? Do they have a room that is affordable? Your bargaining the cost filters down and affects everything. A good dog catcher is the pillar of an ABC program. This is just an example. When we look after our NGOs, when we look after all the employees of the entire system that is providing this service, and look at the quality of service that we are giving, we will be able to do it sustainably and not just quickly to fulfill numbers. I request you all to learn to speak, to learn to reflect the suffering that you see around you. Learn to listen, because when you listen, you understand the community's problem, the NGO's problem, the victim's problem, and then you will be able to get a better solution and learn to work together. When I say work together, it is based on if we want to go fast, we go alone. But if we want to go far, as a country, as a nation, we must go together. And most of all, when you get overwhelmed, because when you're giving in nature and you serve, you will always find a moment where you burn out, where you think, I can't do this anymore. And at that time, it's your EQ, not your IQ, that will help you. It's your community and not your individual success that will help you. I believe in humanity. I believe that human generosity and the indomitable resilience and courage that we have, our compassion, is priceless, and that is the human spirit. We have a very special bond with animals and nature, and when this bond is broken, that's where we feel broken. India has a beautiful tradition of ahimsa, of kindness, of compassion. All our traditions, be it Mahavira and Jainism, Buddhism, Emperor Ashoka in history, be it the Bhagavad Gita and Sri Krishna's teachings, it doesn't matter. You look everywhere. Even the life of Muhammad the Prophet, the Holy Prophet, is full of compassion and kindness. And I think we can recommit that this compassion is what brings us together, and we must spread it, multiply it, and establish it deeply in all the service that we provide. I wish you all the very best. I hope you will open your hearts, your minds, and your homes to this beautiful path of service. The younger generation is a great strength India has. They all need to be guided. I think every birthday, every marriage, not just celebrating, but giving, to be able to bring in the culture of giving into that on your birthday, you feed people who don't have the food, not just your friends. On weddings, we feed people who don't have the food, not just the people that we want to honor. And in this, we will spread and continue and re-establish this beautiful tradition we have in India. I believe that if we live a life of service, then our death, because all of us are going to die one day, our death will be a celebration, and our eternal journey will be one that's blessed by all the universe. Thank you.